Luna always knew she was different. While other children in her magical city could make beautiful light patterns with their hands, hers would spark and flicker like broken bulbs. When they created gentle glowing orbs, she accidentally made explosions of bright light that hurt everyone's eyes. Her city was called Crystal Heights, and it floated high above the clouds where humans could never see it. The buildings were made of clear crystal that sang in the wind, and rainbow bridges connected every tower. Her people, the Light Walkers, were tall and graceful with skin that glowed softly and eyes that sparkled like stars. They lived for hundreds of years and spent their time creating art with pure light energy. Luna tried so hard to fit in. Every morning, she practiced in her room, trying to make her powers work like everyone else's. She would stand in front of her crystal mirror, focusing all her energy on creating just one small, steady light. But instead of a gentle glow, wild streaks of silver and blue would shoot from her fingers, cracking the mirror and making the walls shake. Her parents loved her, but she could see the worry in their eyes. Her father would pat her shoulder and say, "Don't worry, little star, you'll figure it out." But Luna heard him talking to her mother late at night, whispering about what would happen when she turned 25 and had to participate in the joining ceremony. The joining ceremony was the most important day in any Light Walker's life. On their 25th birthday, they would stand before the great crystal in the center of the city and let their power flow into it. The crystal would then choose their perfect match from among their people. Two souls would be bound together forever, their lights mixing to create something beautiful and new. Luna's 25th birthday arrived like a storm cloud. She had barely slept for weeks, practicing desperately but only making her powers more unstable. The morning of the ceremony, she stood before her cracked mirror one last time. Her reflection looked back at her with scared, glowing eyes. Her long silver hair moved like water around her shoulders, and her pale blue skin seemed to flicker between solid and transparent. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. "I have to do this." The ceremony took place at sunset when the great crystal was at its most powerful. All the Light Walkers gathered in the central plaza, their combined glow making the crystal buildings shine like captured sunshine. Luna wore the traditional white robes that seemed to be made of solidified moonlight. They fell heavy on her shoulders, like the weight of everyone's expectations. Elder Cosmos, the oldest and wisest of their people, gestured for Luna to approach the great crystal. It was taller than 3 people and pulsed with gentle golden light. Around its base, smaller crystals had been arranged in perfect circles. These would help focus and control the ceremony's energy. "Luna, daughter of the stars," Elder Cosmos announced in his deep, musical voice. "Step forward and let your light join with the great crystal. Let it find your destined partner and bind your souls in eternal harmony." Luna's legs felt like they were made of jelly, but she walked forward. Every eye in the city was on her. She could hear children whispering, "Will her power finally work right?" She could see other young adults her age, all perfectly matched with their partners. Watching with curiosity and some with pity, she placed her hands on the great crystal. At first, nothing happened. The crystal remained its usual golden color. Luna took a deep breath and tried to let her power flow gently, the way she had practiced thousands of times. But her power had never been gentle. The moment she opened herself to the crystal's energy, something went terribly wrong. Instead of the soft golden glow that should have appeared, violent streaks of silver and electric blue shot through the great crystal like lightning. The smaller crystals around the base began to crack and spark. "Stop," Elder Cosmos shouted. But Luna couldn't stop. Her power was pouring out of her like a broken dam. The great crystal began to pulse faster and brighter, its golden light turning harsh and white. The other Light Walkers stepped back in fear as the very ground began to shake. Luna felt her power growing stronger and wilder, feeding off the great crystal's energy and becoming something she had never experienced before. It felt like holding onto a star that was trying to explode. Then it happened. The smaller crystals didn't just crack, they shattered completely, sending sharp pieces flying through the air. Several elders were cut by the flying crystal fragments. The great crystal itself developed a long crack right down its center, and its beautiful golden light flickered and went out. The plaza fell into shocked silence. Luna stood there, her hand still on the now dark crystal, her whole body shaking. She could feel power still coursing through her, but now it felt cold and empty instead of warm and bright. Elder Cosmos approached slowly, his usually kind face now hard and angry. "What have you done, child?" Luna tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. I didn't mean to. I tried to control it. I really tried." But the damage was clear for everyone to see. The great crystal, which had guided their people's ceremonies for thousands of years, was broken. The smaller crystals that helped focus their city's power were destroyed. Worst of all, 3 elders were hurt, including Elder Nova, who was bleeding from cuts on her face and arms. The crowd began to murmur. Luna heard words like dangerous and cursed and tainted. She felt like she was shrinking smaller and smaller, until she might disappear completely. Elder Cosmos raised his hand for silence. When he spoke, his voice carried across the plaza like thunder. "Luna, daughter of the stars, your power is not like ours. It is wild and destructive. You have proven that you cannot control what flows through you, and in doing so, you have hurt our people and damaged our most sacred crystal." Luna's parents stepped forward. Her father's face was pale, and her mother was crying silent tears that glowed like liquid starlight. "Please," her father said. "She's still young. She can learn control. Give her another chance." But Elder Cosmos shook his head. "The decision of the council is final. Luna's power is too dangerous to remain among us. She is hereby banished from Crystal Heights. She may never return, and no light walker may help her or communicate with her. She is no longer one of us." The words hit Luna like physical blows. Banished, cast out, alone. She looked around at all the faces she had known since childhood, but now they looked at her with fear and disgust. Even some of her old friends turned away when she tried to catch their eyes. Her parents were allowed to say goodbye, but they had to do it quickly. Her mother pressed a small bag of supplies into her hands and whispered, "We love you, our little star. Find your own light somewhere else." Her father hugged her tight and said, "You're stronger than you know. Don't let them make you believe you're broken." Then Luna was escorted to the edge of their floating city. She was given a special crystal that would lower her safely to the earth below. But once she used it, she could never come back up. The city's protective barriers would keep her out forever. As she descended through the clouds, Luna looked back one last time at the only home she had ever known. The crystal towers were still glowing, but dimmer now without the great crystal's power. She could see tiny figures of her people moving around, already starting to repair the damage she had caused. She landed in a thick forest far from any human town. The moment her feet touched the ground, the transportation crystal crumbled to dust. There was no going back now. She was truly alone in a world she had never seen before, with powers she couldn't control and no one to help her understand what she was supposed to do next. That first night, Luna curled up under a large tree and cried until she had no tears left. She was 25 years old, had never lived anywhere but a floating crystal city, and now she had to survive in a strange world by herself. Her skin still glowed softly in the darkness, making her feel exposed and vulnerable. She had been rejected by her own people, cast out like garbage, and told she was too dangerous to be around anyone. As she fell asleep on the hard ground, Luna wondered if they were right. Maybe she really was broken. Maybe she would never find anywhere she belonged. 3 years had passed since Luna fell from the sky. 3 long, lonely years of hiding in caves and drinking from streams, of talking only to squirrels and birds because she was too scared to face any humans. She had found a perfect hiding spot, deep in the mountains, where thick trees blocked the view from above and a small waterfall provided fresh water. Luna had changed during those years. Her glowing skin had grown dimmer from sadness, and her silver hair was longer now, often tangled with leaves and twigs. She had learned to hunt small animals and find edible plants, but she was always hungry and always cold. Worst of all, she was always alone. Her powers were still unpredictable. Sometimes when she got emotional, trees around her would suddenly grow taller or flowers would bloom out of season. Once, when she was crying about missing her parents, she accidentally created a small lightning storm that lasted for hours. She had learned to stay away from anything breakable. On this particular morning, Luna felt weaker than usual. She hadn't eaten in 2 days because the berries she usually found were out of season, and the small fish in her stream seemed to have disappeared. Her head was spinning, and her legs felt like they might give out at any moment. She decided to venture further from her cave than she usually did, hoping to find some food before she collapsed completely. As she stumbled through the thick forest, her vision kept blurring. She didn't notice the strange beeping sounds coming from somewhere nearby, or the unusual metal objects attached to some of the trees. Meanwhile, Dr. River Chen was having the strangest day of his career. The 28-year-old scientist had been studying unusual energy patterns in this remote forest for weeks. His equipment kept detecting something that shouldn't exist, power readings that were off the charts, but coming from no identifiable source. River was different from most scientists. While his colleagues spent all their time in laboratories, he preferred to be outdoors, studying life in its natural environment. He was quiet and thoughtful, more comfortable with animals and plants than with people. His black hair was always messy from hiking through the woods, and his clothes were usually covered in mud and leaves. Today, his sensors were going crazy. The readings were stronger than ever, and they seemed to be moving. River packed his equipment carefully into his backpack and followed the signals deeper into the forest. He had theories about what might be causing such unusual energy. Maybe some kind of rare mineral deposit or even a meteorite that had fallen years ago. He definitely wasn't expecting to find a person. River was examining one of his sensors when he heard a soft thud behind him. He turned around and saw something that made him drop his equipment in shock. A young woman had collapsed next to the small stream, but she wasn't like any woman he had ever seen. Her skin had a faint, pearl-like glow that seemed to come from within. Her hair was silver and seemed to move on its own, even though there was no wind. She was wearing clothes that looked like they were made from moonlight and spider silk. Most striking of all, she appeared to be flickering, sometimes solid, sometimes almost transparent, like a TV with bad reception. River's first instinct was to run. This was clearly something beyond normal human experience. But as he stared at the collapsed figure, he noticed she was breathing in short, painful gasps. Whatever she was hurt and needed help. He approached slowly, like he might approach a wounded wild animal. "Hey," he said softly. "Are you okay?" The woman's eyes fluttered open, and River gasped. They were the most beautiful violet color he had ever seen, like looking into a field of lavender flowers. But they were also filled with fear and pain. Luna tried to scramble away when she saw the human looking down at her, but she was too weak to move. This was her worst nightmare, being discovered by one of the humans she had been hiding from for 3 years. She tried to make her glow disappear, but she couldn't control it when she was this sick and scared. "Please don't hurt me," she whispered, her voice sounding like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. River raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you. You look like you need help. Are you sick?" Luna stared at him in confusion. She had expected him to scream or run away or try to capture her. Instead, he was looking at her with genuine concern, as if her strange appearance didn't bother him at all. His dark eyes were kind and patient, and he stayed a respectful distance away, so she wouldn't feel trapped. I haven't eaten in days," Luna admitted, her voice barely audible. River immediately reached into his backpack and pulled out a water bottle and some energy bars. He set them on the ground between them and backed away. "Here, take these. The water is clean, and the food will help your energy." Luna looked at the offering suspiciously. In her floating city, she had been taught that humans were primitive and dangerous. But this human seemed gentle and caring. Slowly, she reached for the water bottle and took a small sip. It tasted better than anything she had drunk in months. "What's your name?" River asked quietly, sitting down on a nearby rock to seem less threatening. Luna hesitated. She had never told her real name to a human before. Luna, she finally said, "I'm River." He replied with a small smile. "I'm a scientist. I study plants and animals and, well, unusual things in nature." He gestured to his equipment. "I've been detecting some very interesting energy readings in this area. Would you happen to know anything about that?" Luna looked down at her hands, which were still glowing faintly. She had been the source of his readings all along. "It's me," she admitted. I'm not human." River nodded as if this was the most normal thing in the world. "I figured that out already. You're definitely not in any of my biology textbooks." He leaned forward slightly. "Are you from around here?" Luna shook her head and pointed up at the sky. "I'm from up there. Far up. My people live in a city that floats above the clouds." Most humans would have laughed or called her crazy, but River just nodded thoughtfully. "That would explain the energy readings. Your people must use some form of advanced technology, or are those natural abilities?" "Natural," Luna said, surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. "But mine don't work right. That's why they sent me away." River was quiet for a moment, processing this information. Then he said something that changed Luna's life forever. "Well, their loss is my gain. I've been looking for something interesting to study, and you're definitely the most fascinating discovery I've ever made." Luna blinked in surprise. "You're not afraid of me, should I be?" River asked. "You seem more scared of me than I am of you. And you're clearly not dangerous. You're barely strong enough to sit up." For the first time in 3 years, Luna felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. This human wasn't running away or trying to hurt her. He was treating her like a person, not a monster. "I should go," Luna said, trying to stand up but swaying dangerously. River stood up quickly. "You shouldn't be alone in your condition. I have a research station about a mile from here. It's just a small cabin, but it has food and medical supplies. You could rest there until you feel better." Luna wanted to say yes so desperately it hurt. She was tired of being alone, tired of being hungry and cold and scared. But she had learned not to trust too easily. "Why would you help me?" she asked. River thought about this seriously before answering. "Because you need help, and I can provide it. And because," he paused, looking slightly embarrassed, "because I've always felt like an outsider too. I know what it's like to not fit in with your own kind." Something about the way he said it made Luna believe him. Maybe, just maybe, she had finally found someone who might understand what it felt like to be different, okay? She whispered, "I'll come with you," as River helped her to her feet, being careful not to touch her directly in case it might hurt her. Luna felt her heart beating faster. For the first time since her banishment, she wasn't completely alone. Maybe this human, this kind, gentle scientist named River, might be exactly what she needed to start healing from 3 years of loneliness and pain. River's research cabin was small but cozy. It had one main room with a simple bed, a desk covered in scientific papers, and shelves full of books about biology and physics. The walls were decorated with photos of unusual plants and animals he had discovered during his travels. Luna had never seen anything like it. "You can have the bed," River said, setting down his backpack. "I'll sleep on the couch." Luna shook her head quickly. "I can't take your bed. You've already done too much for me. You're recovering from exhaustion." River replied firmly but kindly, "You need proper rest. Besides, I've slept in worse places during my research trips." Over the next few days, River took care of Luna with the same gentle patience he showed to injured animals. He brought her warm soup and fresh water, gave her clean clothes that were too big but comfortable, and never asked questions that made her uncomfortable. He seemed to understand that she needed time to trust. Luna found herself watching River. When he thought she wasn't looking, he was different from what she had expected humans to be. He moved quietly and spoke softly, never making sudden movements that might startle her. When he worked at his desk, writing notes about his research, his face had a peaceful concentration that reminded her of the scholars in her floating city. On the third day, Luna felt strong enough to sit outside. River had set up a comfortable chair for her in a sunny spot near the cabin. As she relaxed in the warmth, she noticed something strange happening. The flowers around her chair were growing bigger and brighter. A wilted rose bush nearby suddenly sprouted fresh blooms. "Your powers," River said, appearing beside her with 2 cups of tea. "They seem different when you're calm and happy." Luna looked down at her hands in surprise. Instead of the chaotic sparks she was used to, gentle waves of silver light were flowing from her fingers into the ground. "I've never seen them do this before," she whispered. River sat down nearby, careful to give her space. "Maybe your powers aren't broken. Maybe they just needed the right environment to work properly." Luna felt tears in her eyes. "My people said I was dangerous. They said I would hurt everyone around me." "Have you hurt me?" River asked gently. Luna looked at him in surprise. "No, but have you hurt any of the animals or plants here?" Luna looked around at the thriving garden that seemed to have appeared around her chair. Birds were singing more loudly than usual, and even the grass looked greener. "No," she admitted. "Then maybe your people were wrong," River said simply. That evening, as they sat by a small fire River had built, Luna found herself telling him about her life in the Crystal City. She described the floating towers, the rainbow bridges, and the way her people could paint pictures with pure light. River listened with genuine fascination, asking thoughtful questions that showed he really cared about understanding her world. "It sounds beautiful," he said when she finished, "but it also sounds lonely." Luna nodded. "I never really fit in, even before the ceremony disaster. I was always different, always struggling to control my abilities." River stirred the fire with a stick, sending sparks dancing into the night sky. "I know something about not fitting in," he said quietly. "I've never been good with people either. I always preferred spending time in nature, studying things that most people think are boring or weird." "Is that why you became a scientist?" Luna asked. River smiled, "Partly, but mostly because I wanted to discover new things, to find beauty in places where others couldn't see it." He looked at her meaningfully. "Like finding you." Luna felt her heart skip a beat. No one had ever called her beautiful before, especially not when they knew about her powers and her strange appearance. Over the following weeks, River and Luna fell into a comfortable routine. During the day, River would work on his research, while Luna explored the area around the cabin. She discovered that her powers worked much better when she wasn't scared or angry. She could encourage plants to grow, heal small injuries on woodland animals, and even create gentle light shows for River in the evenings. River began having vivid dreams about crystal cities and beings of light. He didn't know that Luna's emotions were unconsciously reaching out to him through her stabilizing psychic abilities in his dreams. He felt her loneliness, her hope, and growing feelings for him. One evening, as Luna created dancing lights above their campfire, River reached out and gently took her hand. "Luna," he said softly, "I need to tell you something." Luna's lights flickered nervously. "What is it?" "I'm falling in love with you," River said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know we're from different worlds, literally, but I've never felt this way about anyone before." Luna stared at him in amazement. "You love me? Even though I'm not human? Even though my people cast me out?" River squeezed her hand gently. "I love you because of who you are, not in spite of it. Your differences don't make you broken. They make you extraordinary." Luna felt her powers surge with joy, and suddenly, the entire clearing was filled with soft, beautiful light that danced like aurora in the sky. For the first time since her banishment, she felt truly happy and accepted. "I love you too," she whispered, and River pulled her into his arms for their first kiss. The months that followed were the happiest of Luna's life. Her love for River had a stabilizing effect on her abilities that amazed them both. Her powers became more controlled and focused, allowing her to heal larger plants and communicate with forest animals. She could create protective barriers of light around their cabin, and even influence the weather on a small scale. River documented everything, not as a scientist studying a specimen, but as someone who wanted to understand and help the woman he loved together. They discovered that Luna's abilities were actually far more sophisticated than anyone had realized. She wasn't just creating random bursts of energy. She was manipulating the fundamental forces that connected all living things. "You're like a bridge," River told her one evening as they watched her heal a deer that had been injured by hunters. "You can connect with the life force in everything around you." Luna smiled as the deer nuzzled her hand gratefully before bounding back into the forest. "I feel it," she said. "It's like I can sense the heartbeat of the whole forest." But their happiness was about to be shattered. One morning, Luna woke up with a terrible feeling of dread. The air around the cabin felt different, charged with energy she recognized from her childhood. Before she could warn River, 3 figures materialized in their clearing, their forms shimmering like heat waves. Luna's heart sank as she recognized them. Storm, her former intended partner, stood in the center, his golden hair flowing like liquid metal and his eyes blazing with anger. Beside him were the council guards, Frost and Blaze, their expressions cold and disapproving. "Luna of the Lost." "Light," Storm said, his voice carrying the musical quality of all light walkers but with an edge of disgust. "You have committed the ultimate betrayal." River stepped protectively in front of Luna, though he was clearly overwhelmed by the otherworldly appearance of the 3 beings. "Who are you? What do you want?" Storm's eyes fixed on River with contempt. "I am Storm, rightful partner to this corrupted female. And you, human, are the evidence of her crime against our people." "Crime?" Luna stepped out from behind River, her chin raised defiantly. "What crime? Living my life, finding happiness." Frost, the female guard, spoke in a voice like wind through ice caves. "You have contaminated yourself by forming emotional bonds with an inferior species. You have shared our secrets with a human. You have polluted your light with his primitive energy." River looked confused and hurt. "Primitive? Luna, what are they talking about?" Storm laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "She never told you, did she, human? Your kind are nothing but clever animals to us. The fact that she would lower herself to love something like you proves that her corruption runs deeper than we thought. That's enough." Luna's voice cracked like thunder, and power surged around her in protective waves. "River is worth 100 of you, Storm. He has shown me more kindness and understanding than our entire people ever did." Blaze, the 3rd guard, moved forward menacingly. "You will return with us to face judgment, Luna. The council has discovered the truth about your mixed heritage." Luna felt the blood drain from her face. "What truth?" Storm's smile was cruel. "Your grandmother, Luna, your precious grandmother who died when you were young. She wasn't full light walker. Was she? She was half human, cast out from our people. For the same crime you're committing now." The revelation hit Luna like a physical blow. Her grandmother had been her favorite person in the whole world, the only one who ever made her feel normal and loved. "You're lying," she whispered. "Your unstable powers, your inability to fit in with our people, your attraction to this human. It all makes sense now." Frost continued coldly. "You carry human blood, which makes you an abomination. Your very existence threatens the purity of our race." River stepped forward angrily. "How dare you talk to her like that? Luna is the most amazing person I've ever met. If you can't see that, then you're the ones who are blind." Storm's power flared dangerously. "Silence, primitive. You have no voice here." He turned back to Luna. "You will return with us and submit to purification, or we will eliminate both you and your pet human." Luna felt her own power rising in response to the threat to River. "You will not hurt him," she said, her voice deadly quiet. "Then you will come with us willingly." Blaze said, "The council has prepared a special ceremony to cleanse you of your human contamination. Afterward, you will be bound to Storm as originally planned." Luna looked at River, seeing the fear and confusion in his eyes. Not fear for himself, but fear for her. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but he knew she was in danger. "And if I refuse?" Luna asked. Storm's expression grew even colder. "Then we will erase his memories of you completely and leave him mindless. You will watch your beloved become an empty shell, and then you will come with us anyway." Luna felt her world crumbling around her. after finally finding love and acceptance. Her past had caught up with her. She had to choose between the man she loved and his very sanity. Luna stood between the three light walkers and River, her mind racing. She could feel her mixed heritage awakening inside her, human determination mixing with light walker power in a way that felt both terrifying and right. "You want to know about my grandmother," Luna said, her voice growing stronger. "Then let me show you what her legacy really means." Before anyone could stop her, Luna let go of all the control she had learned over the years. But instead of the chaotic bursts of her youth, her power flowed out in controlled waves that made the very air shimmer. The ground beneath their feet began to glow, and every plant in the clearing started growing faster and brighter. Storm stepped back in shock. What are you doing?" "I'm showing you what you've been too blind to see," Luna replied. Her power reached out to River, and suddenly he could feel what she felt. The connection to every living thing around them, the way energy flowed between all life forms, the incredible potential that came from bridging to different kinds of existence. River gasped as understanding flooded through him. "Luna, you're not broken. You're evolved." The three light walkers stared in amazement as Luna's power continued to expand. She wasn't just manipulating light and energy, she was harmonizing the natural forces around them in a way none of them had ever seen before. "This is impossible," Frost whispered. "No light walker has this kind of ability." "That's because I'm not just a light walker," Luna said firmly. "I'm something new, something that your closed-minded council never wanted to acknowledge could exist." Storm's face twisted with anger and fear. "Abomination, you're proving why. Mixed blood is dangerous. You're out of control." But River stepped forward, no longer intimidated by the otherworldly beings. "She's not out of control. She's in perfect control. And if you can't see how beautiful and powerful she is, then you don't deserve her." Luna felt her heart swell with love for this brave human who was defending her against beings who could destroy him with a thought. His faith in her gave her the strength to do something she had never attempted before. She reached out with her power and touched the minds of all three light walkers, not to control them, but to show them what she had experienced. They felt her years of loneliness and pain, but also her growth and the incredible stability that River's love had brought to her abilities. Blaze stumbled backward. I can feel the human's emotions. How's this possible?" "Love transcends species," Luna said simply. "My grandmother knew that. She chose love over the approval of people who couldn't see past their own prejudices." Storm tried one last desperate attack, sending a bolt of pure golden energy toward River. But Luna's power rose to meet it, not with violence, but with something far stronger. A barrier made of love and determination that absorbed his attack completely. "Enough!" Luna's voice rang out with authority that made all three light walkers freeze. "I choose River. I choose love. And I choose to build something new instead of clinging to something old and broken." To everyone's surprise, Frost stepped forward, her icy demeanor cracking. "Luna, what you've shown us, the connection between species, maybe there's wisdom in it." Storm spun toward her angrily. "Frost, you can't be serious." But Frost continued. "I felt what she felt, the strength that comes from their bond, the way her powers have grown and stabilized. Maybe the council is wrong. Maybe purity isn't the only path to power." Blaze nodded slowly. "I felt it too. The harmony between them, it's unlike anything our people have achieved." Storm's face went white with rage. "You're both contaminated by her human sickness. The council will hear of this betrayal. Then let them hear." Frost said firmly. "Some of us are tired of hiding from the world. Tired of pretending that isolation makes us strong when it only makes us weak and fearful." Storm realized he was outnumbered and outmatched. With a final glare of hatred, he shimmered and disappeared, returning to the Crystal City to report his failure. Frost and Blaze approached Luna and River more respectfully. "What you've discovered here," Blaze said, "it could change everything for both our peoples." Luna took River's hand. "That's what I hope. My grandmother dreamed of a world where light walkers and humans could live together, learn from each other, grow stronger together. River and I want to make that dream real. Over the following months, other young Lightwalkers began arriving at their forest home. They came in secret at first, curious about the rumors of a half-blood who had tamed her wild powers through love for a human. They stayed when they saw the harmony that Luna and River had created. The first children born to these mixed couples were unlike anything either species had ever seen. They had the Lightwalker's connection to energy and the human's adaptability and creativity. They could heal environmental damage that had seemed impossible to fix, communicate with animals in ways that bridge the gap between species, and create new forms of art that combine technology with natural beauty. Luna and River's wedding ceremony became the template for a new kind of union. Lightwalker energy wove together with human determination, creating bonds that were stronger than either species had achieved alone. Their love story spread to both worlds, inspiring others to look beyond the boundaries of their own kind. Years later, as Luna watched their daughter play with children who were part human, part Lightwalker, and completely wonderful, she reflected on how far they had come. Her rejection by the Crystal City had seemed like the end of her world, but it had actually been the beginning of something much more beautiful. River found her sitting in their garden, where plants grew in impossible colors and hummingbirds, made of pure light, danced among flowers that sang in harmony. "Any regrets?" he asked, settling down beside her. Luna smiled, her powers creating a gentle aurora above their heads. "Only that it took me so long to realize that being different was never a curse. It was a gift, and finding you was the key to unwrapping it." River kissed her temple. "Your people rejected you because they were afraid of change. But change was exactly what both our worlds needed." Luna nodded, watching their daughter create butterflies from pure light and giggling as they landed on her nose. "Sometimes the people who cast you out are just making room for you to become who you were always meant to be." Their love had started as a meeting between two lonely outcasts, but it had grown into something that transformed entire civilizations. Luna had been rejected by her people, only to discover that her true people were those who could see past differences, to the beauty of connection itself. In the end, love really had transcended all boundaries, species, worlds, and the narrow-minded fears that had kept two peoples apart for far too long.